doing the same scene in here are our roles. Oh, sorry, just commenting. Okay, let's start.
Would you like to switch the lights on while you act?
Sure.
That way we can see you a little better. Thanks, Jen.
Okay, so our scene is again the end of Act 3. We have the scene as Mr. Linder attempts to purchase the house from the family. And we have Bernard as Mr. Walter, me as Mr. Linder, Alondra as Ruth, and Benita, Marquise as Mama, and Kiwan as Travis. And our script is kind of a short interpretation of this. Hello?
He's here.
Well, I certainly was glad to hear from you people. Life can really be so much simpler. When people let it be most of the time. Well, whom do I negotiate? You, Mrs. Younger. Or you, who signed here?
Yes, I'm here.
Travis, you go downstairs.
No, Travis. You stay. And you make him understand what you're doing, Walter Lee. You teach him good, like Billy Harris taught you. You show him where our 5 generations done come to. Go ahead. Go on.
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm here. We've been thinking about your offer, and I just want to tell you that we come from a lot of people who had a lot of pride. I mean, we are very proud people. And that's my sister over there. She's going to become a doctor one day.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Younger.
What I'm telling you is that we called you over here to tell you that we are very proud and that this here, Travis, come here. This is my son, and he makes the 6th generation of our family in this country. And we have all thought about your offer.
Yes, I understand.
And we have decided to move into our house because my father, he earned it for us brick by brick. We don't want to make no trouble for nobody or fight no causes. And we will try to be good neighbors, and that's all we got to say about that. We don't want your money.
No, I'm afraid I don't.
All right.
That's what the man said.
Well, I'm sure that is very nice, but
I'm afraid you don't understand. My son said we was going to move here, and there ain't nothing left for me to say.
Good day. That's it.
Okay, and if you need me to switch that projector back on, you ready for it? Now remember, there's one more person in your group who still needs to act. Would you want them to finish their commentary and then you go? Yeah. And then you'll do a combination at the end?
Mine is different.
Okay. Give it a moment or two. You can get started talking while it's loading.
okay. So, first off, a situation we're in. The family encounters the obstacles as they are on their way to their hopes and their goals. But because of racial segregation at the time, it also just stops them and it takes them a while to overcome racial segregation. So the family feels inferior to Mr. Linder because of their social status. So that's why it was so hard. That they hesitated and they felt out of place when Mr. Linder arrived. So I made broken down the scene into 3 parts. The first part is the mood of the family when Mr. Linder arrives. Mr. Walters seems unwilling to face Mr. Linder. It takes a long time for him to get up and actually face him. He would move lethargically and slowly and hesitate. The family does not move or isn't lively when Mr. Linder's in the room. They feel make an unwelcoming atmosphere as he's around. And the second analysis I made is Mr. Walter faces Mr. Linder. At first, Mr. Walter would relate to a child as he's looking down at his shoes while he's talking to Miss Linder. He would, according to a lot of stage directions, he would often wander and not be willing to talk to Mr. Linder. Then Mr. Walter shows more intensity and stands up to Mr. Linder and walks out, finally standing up for his family and breaking down, standing up to racial segregation. And third analysis is when Mr. Linder exits. The family stays true to the decision, and Mr. Linder gives one last remark as he leaves that Mr. informs the trouble they have encountered. So, which was saying kind of a warning of the trouble they made or their decision has cost on their family.
Second part is we kind of took a familial look at this scene. Basically, the refusal to accept the money from Mr. Linder, to not move into the neighborhood displays that they have the strong morals and values as a family. In this scene, the American dream is depicted as a family who wants to have the chance to move on in society by having each generation of the family become something better than anything the family had accomplished before. This represented when Mr. Walter calls Travis here to their refusal and their acceptance of this house is for Travis's sake, so that his family can have a better living than that they have at the current moment. We have a few questions.
Alright, when facing Mr. Linder, Mr. Walter shows intensity towards his claim but became inferior to once again. Do you think Mr. Walter confronts Mr. Linder?
More strongly.
Indirectly.
You think indirectly?
Kind of. Yeah. Maybe his words, not so much how he said them, but what he said.
Anyone else?
He's kind of indirect at first, but becomes direct because he gains strength against Mr. Linder.
Oh, Thomas?
I think when Mama told Travis to stay, he got like more direct with
Mr. Walter demonstrates various characteristics in the scene. Name a characteristic about Mr. Walter's behavior and explain why you chose that one.
He hesitated a lot, and he probably chose that. Well, he didn't choose it really, but he was acting that way because he didn't know what he was going to do. He was conflicted.
And let me help you out here. Do you see Walter hesitating even for a moment to think near the beginning of the play? What's his nature at the beginning? How does he act? It's for everybody, not just this group.
Yeah, confident.
Very confident, impulsive. impulsive, right? He is constantly acting without thinking. So for him to hesitate now shows us what? Okay, his character's growth, that he's finally ready to step up here, that he's finally thinking about what he is saying and what he's doing before he's doing it. Good question. Go ahead.
That's it.
Okay, so then we need to also get Ayana up. So quick